Chris, first of all, congratulations, reaching 100 caps. Going back to your debut, I most probably would have been doing this in Cardiff Park before the game at Wrexham, 2007, New Zealand. Seems such a long time ago. What are your memories of that particular time?
Yeah, it does seem a long time ago. A strange week, one where you're extremely nervous to meet up for the first time. I think I only knew Joe Ledley. Met at Ninian Park, got driven up to Wrexham, and yeah, it was all a strange week in terms of nerves, you know, with some of the names that were in the squad, and yeah, waiting then to see if I was going to play, obviously, in the friendly, and did. Again, really nervous, one that really proud on one hand, but also just hoping that it goes okay. The game was okay. Drawing to New Zealand wasn't probably the best result for us. And then remember getting in a car with my mum, dad and brother and going. We had 2 days off, I think, before we met back up for the qualifier the next week. So yeah, a real proud week and an afternoon. I think it was Saturday. And yeah, it's something that, you know, when you get later on in terms of coming out of school and stuff, that is your dream to represent your country. So a real proud moment, yeah.
Well, funny enough, you were playing for Wales. You hadn't even established yourself at Cardiff at the time, had you? You know, so you were playing that international football before really getting the opportunity at Cardiff City.
Yeah, I think I was in and out slightly at Cardiff at that time. So yeah, there was a little bit of talk, you know, potentially at the end of the season, maybe included. But yeah, that sort of spell was, I think that season would have broken into the Cardiff team. Hadn't played many games, and then yeah, you know, going away Wales, like I say, was a nervous time because you haven't been around, you know, senior football for that long. You know, in the club situation, you come through, you know, a few more people. Was fortunate that Joe was there to sort of, you know, look after me. But I remember when we first turned up there, Joe obviously knew Gabs and Ernie. They came straight in our room. I'm just, you know, sitting there thinking, you know, I've been a season ticket to Cardiff for years and years. I've watched and sang your name for a long time, and then suddenly then to see them as teammates almost, it's a strange, you know, sort of time. That's why I think when some of the young lads come through, you know, they probably look to some of the older ones, and you forget maybe how they're feeling. So it's sometimes good to, you know, to help them as much as possible. So I was lucky Joe was there, and yeah, it was all a whirlwind at that time.
I think when people first started to, obviously were aware that you really got the headlines and sat up, was if I remember, it was an away game in Frankfurt against Germany. You played left back that day. I remember an outstanding performance, and you got a lot of accolades at the time. Everybody praising you. Do you remember that night?
Yeah, well, I remember that spell because I was I wasn't even on the bench for Cardiff at that time. I think on the Saturday, travelled with the Cardiff team. Wasn't on the bench, watched the game. It was away at Charlton, watched it in the away end with my brother. Met up with Wales the next day. Wasn't due to play. I think we had Republic of Ireland on the Saturday. And then after training one afternoon, showered, got changed, door knocked, John Toshak came in to speak to me and Joe. So we were changing formation, and then on the Friday at training, he said, "Do you fancy a game tomorrow?" I thought he meant for the under-21s, like sometimes you used to come and train, and then I was like, yeah, I'd love to play, thinking I think they were playing up in Wrexham. And I said, shall I train and then go up, or, you know, what's the situation? And he was like, no, for us tomorrow. So then I played on that Saturday, done well, and yeah, kept my place on that Tuesday game. yeah, that Germany game, I think probably for, like you said, for other people, but for myself, I think in such a big game, you know, I think I played left wing back or left back. Yeah, not that you ever feel you belong, or you know you've made it in any squad you're in. I think you're always aiming to prove yourself. But certainly that evening to draw 0-0 was the first time, you know, I thought, you know, this is what international football's all about. We drew 2-2 on the Saturday. I think it was like 60,000 at the Millennium, and then yeah, probably another 70,000 on the Tuesday. 0-0 was yeah, it was a special few days, and I think that's then where went straight back to Cardiff and was in the team and moved soon after. So that spell was really good. That, I think that Germany game will always be, you know, really etched in my memory. Yeah.
You mentioned there about you never take anything for granted. When did you start to feel that you were a real part of it? Not saying established or that you were always going to play, but you felt, you know, there's Wales games coming up. I expect maybe to be in the squad.
Maybe after I joined Tottenham, I think I was playing more often than not then for Wales. So I think then moving to Tottenham, I felt more comfortable in the squad. And again, every time you come away, you're getting to know the players more. But you was still young. And again, there was only probably then me, Gaz, Joe, Wayne, but there still wasn't many of us. So maybe around that time I've probably been in every squad since, really. And then obviously a change of managers. But yeah, probably from that time felt more included. And then over the last, I don't know, was it 7-8 years or so, you know, been fortunate where you sort of know you're going to be in squads, and that's the one thing you sort of take for granted in a way, but never really do, because you know it's such a huge honour to come away and play and just be in the squad. And yeah, that's one thing I've never really taken for granted, because you know I know there's so many people out there that would love to do it. But yeah, it felt more comfortable as the years have gone on, and I think that's everybody in the squad, because we've become so close, and every trip you come away, players and staff, it is like one sort of big unit, and it's almost run itself for many years now.
100 caps, but it's been a real roller coaster of a journey. You know where you've come from. You mentioned John Toshek, there's Brian Flynn briefly, but then obviously Gary Speed. We all know, you know, tragically what happened to Gary, the journey under Chris Coleman. Now there's been Ryan Giggs, Robert Page. It's been an incredible journey, hasn't it? When you think about, I remember we've spoken about it before, where low crowds, no success, thinking where is it that, and then that bonding, as you've mentioned, but also with the fans and everything. It's developed massively. You've been in all of that, haven't you? Which is it must give you a great sense of satisfaction.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you think back, especially recently, maybe over the last 4 or 5 years, it's been real good times. You know, again, you probably take for granted now, but when we play at home, you expect, or you know, the stadiums, you know, you're going to sell tickets, there's going to be a big crowd, it feels like an event. You sort of forget, probably maybe in the middle part of those 100 games, where, I mean, we were barely making 2,000. We weren't even bringing 2,000 fans to home games. We're taking now 4,000 to Austria on a Thursday evening. We wouldn't get half that for a home qualifying game. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, and maybe people probably aren't aware of, because they've only known Wales for the last couple of years. But yeah, it was almost like when I started off, still playing at the Millennium Stadium. Like I said, that Republic of Ireland game was probably 60,000, and then it slowly, you know, we had some tough times, and it's now where it's at. It's probably never been in this situation. So yeah, there's been some unbelievable times, memories, and not just the ones on the pitch, but in terms of the week leading into games, and some of the laughs and jokes we all have, and there was some real difficult moments where you were meeting up knowing that you were probably going to experience a little bit of turbulence, if you like, and yeah, I think that makes the good times even better, and knowing that you've all been through it together, and that's not just the players, but the core group of staff and fans that were there come rain or shine. How much it meant to everyone, and now we're in a position where everybody can enjoy it. But yeah, certainly when you look back, it wasn't all good times. There was a lot of sort of dark days in there. Yeah.
I have to ask you, as you were part of it, was the turning point, you think, in terms of just generally when Gary Speed took over?
There was definitely a shift in maybe the professionalism, I think, a little bit. I think he was probably ahead of his time. I think he'd just come out of playing quite soon after, and club football was really moving forward with sort of sports science and the general setup around a team. Yeah, it changed quite quickly. He, everything we needed off the pitch was almost instantly there. Almost takes away any excuses. As a footballer, footballers are very good at finding reasons why, or if they don't play well. Generally, footballers will, I didn't play well because of this or that. Not that we had that really in the squad, but everything was there for us. And everybody knows how we were doing as a team, and then obviously what happened, that even seems, aside from the football, it doesn't seem right for what happened to even then say and marry it up with the footballing side, because that was such a bad time for many people, his family and stuff. It doesn't even seem right then to say it was tough coming away with Wales, because people were suffering a lot more than a football game. But yeah, it was around that time then where it felt like we was going up a level, and then there was almost a drop off probably in terms of performances and results, which again was tough. And then yeah, it was Andorra away where it sort of got the ball rolling properly, and from then on we haven't really as a squad, as a nation, really looked back. We've had a couple of disappointments obviously along the way there, but yeah, the way Chris Coleman took it on, he's the one who for me deserves a huge mention. The way he made me feel over a long period of time was, could never really thank him enough for what he'd done. He was incredible, and I think the players repaid him back with the faith he's shown in the group he always selected. And yeah, that spell of my Welsh career will always stand out to me.
And that obviously includes the Euros. It's a difficult question. It was a fantastic journey. For yourself though, what has been the standout moment?
I think that whole 6-7 weeks, nobody knew what to expect. Big tournament. Probably wasn't until arriving at the first game, with his cameras everywhere. Fans were already in the stadium. Obviously before the hotel, everybody knows how many fans and stuff there was. I think that was a time where it was sort of, this is the big time. That if you could bottle up the emotions everybody went through in those 7 weeks or whatever it was, you'd be a rich man if you could sell, how you felt in those times. Just an incredible feeling that the night in, when we qualified, with 800 fans, seemed fitting in a way that the ones who were there, were probably there when we weren't doing well. There's lots of little things, but for me, I always said caps is brilliant, and you always want as many as you can, because that means you're a part of it for a long time. And I always said that you would swap caps to look back whenever you finish, having been part of something successful, and for me to have experienced a lot of those things with a group of players who we all started off together, that you would consider friends. I think that's the main thing. It's great doing good things and experiencing success, you know, but when you know the person next to you is just as happy for himself and you. We had, in those 7 weeks, probably took a group of 60 people or so, staff and players included, that were all in it for the right reasons. There was no, you know, personal stuff going on. Everyone was in it together. That's a special time when you create bonds that, you know, for life you'll have. And I'm fortunate that I've had a lot of the players to have that with for so long. It's almost like it's expected now that they're friends for life, and you know, they're as happy for you as themselves, which is a special feeling. Yeah.
3 things I'm going to mention off the pitch. The first one, after the England game, there are iconic moments and bonds created between a player and fans. The chin-up when he went over to the fans, that's stuck with everyone since, isn't it? What was the thought there after the England game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it didn't feel right during the game that for a game in a neutral venue, it was like an away game. I don't know how they did it. It was almost like the away end, wasn't it? Just had that half a stand behind the goal, which didn't sit right with me. Why they get more tickets or how they find more tickets.
You did bring it up at the time, I remember.
Yeah, and it didn't seem fair.
No.
And then, so it was like an away game. It was almost like an away end. They were all packed in. To concede like we did, you know, was one of the worst feelings. But I think a lot of us mentioned it before. We'd worked too hard over a long period of time for that game to define us, whether we won or lost. You know, it wasn't just about the England game. We was at a major tournament. We've never experienced it. So as disappointed and as sad as it was in that time, I think we knew in the next game, if we looked after ourselves, you know, we were still going to get out of the group. But fans, probably we weren't thinking it, but fans don't see it like that. It's a local rivalry. You know, they've probably been shouted at for 90 minutes, and when you concede, then, you know, I've been there as a fan, as an away fan. You know, it's an awful feeling. But I think it was just a message that, you know, this hurts, but you know, in 4 days' time, we've still got a chance to get out of the group, and we need now positivity. It was straight after the game, but you knew from the players, you know, you're quite good at, you know, parking a defeat and moving on. And we needed as much, you know, sort of positivity around it, which they've always given us. But it was more maybe, I'm not sure exactly why. I mean, you couldn't have planned losing in the last minute and then thinking I'm going to do that. But it was more maybe if they seen, you know, that the players were okay, and it was like, okay, but there's another game. Maybe if it helped one person, as it was, it turned out to be a thing of, you know, people talked about it. But yeah, hopefully, you know, Gunter's okay, or, you know, keep your chin up and move on. Then we need to do the same. And I probably didn't take away any of the hurt of that day, but yeah, it was a time where I think that was the bond between players and fans. It was one. You know, we fed off them as much as they did as us on and off the pitch. So yeah, that was a special time, and you know, they'll never know how important they was to the players. The energy they gave us, and they still do, of course. You know, because they've never experienced being on the pitch, they won't truly know. But they turn up every time, and we wouldn't have achieved what we did in that summer without not even just the support, but the actual, you know, connection between us was something I think you've probably seen through the tournament. No other country had that. I'm very fortunate for that.
You've always had a good relationship with the Welsh media. You've always been articulate in press conferences. Do you remember the one, I think after the Iceland video went out, and I needed strong people that day, and yourself and Neil Taylor, and you deflected it all superbly. Taylor's mentioned about the fact that he had a ticket for Beyonce at Liberty, and you brought up the fact that your parents had a decision to make between watching you or going to your brother's wedding. Do you remember that? It diffused everything, and it got a lot of headlines, didn't it? You know, that was a big decision then for your parents. Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, we well, you mentioned before you've done press in the not so good times. We're having, you know, it'd be nice for you to go and do a press conference where it's all quite positive and everyone's, you know, you're on back of a bit of success and a good win, and then obviously that happened, and there was no talk. We knew going into it there was no talk of football going to happen. That's all they wanted to. And yeah, you know, sometimes the story, that's like, you know, they're writing the story either way, but I think at that time the whole squad was comfortable with how we was as a group, and it didn't really matter what was being said about us, because we were so close, and if you made a bit of a fool of yourself at, you know, certain times, we didn't really care, because it was almost like a bunch of mates. So yeah, it was an interesting morning where there's only so many times you can say, yeah, we know the video's out there. You were probably panicking more than us. But yeah, there's stuff like that when, of course, you look back. You know, it's not, like I said before, it's not just moments on the pitch, of course, good wins and stuff like that. It is more things that happen, you know, in the hotel and stuff like that that make it even more special. But yeah, don't put me up for press after anything like that again, please.
And this is on the pitch. We can't use the exact words, but obviously it's not long to go against Belgium. You get the ball on the right-hand side. It's, you know, it's all there. Don't cross the effing ball, Christopher. Was it instinctive? Did you think about going towards the corner flag and just killing time? What was the thought process there with that?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but I was probably slightly surprised that we had a free kick, and I don't know how long there was to go, but it was sort of in that time where it's probably too early to go and to the corner, but you are close to, you know, to the end of the game. But then once Chesney played me the ball, it was, yeah, well, you know, there's a good chance you're probably going to lose it in a couple of seconds and be on the break. So I was almost put into that position. The cross was good, but I mean, Vokes's header was, you know, incredible. How he's almost past the front post to do that. And again, I think some things are in life is fate. You know, if he doesn't get as good a connection, you know, a moment now that's mentioned to me a lot like that was never mentioned. That phrase you said is never, you know, nobody would ever know. I think there's certain things you do look back on and think, you know, you are slightly blessed and fortunate in certain things. Fate happens, and it all just fell together in that tournament. And the fact then that the camera picked up the gaffer saying it was just, there were so many little things like that through which you were thinking some things almost meant to be in that way. So yeah, I said before, if you could bottle a feeling, that, you know, you wouldn't be working again, because it's almost like it's like some sort of drug. You're not really there. It was like an out-of-body experience. It was the perfect situation in such a big game in front of, you know, again, probably an away end. And yeah, just seeing, you know, men, women, kids out of control was a special feeling. And what we was doing on the pitch was giving people in the stadium back home. Yeah, it's a real special feeling.
Just two final questions from me about something you never expected to experience when we go back to 2007. The return home on the bus tour around Cardiff. That must have been something quite incredible. I remember you went up to the top of Cardiff Castle with Aaron to have a look out. you must have been, you didn't expect that, did you?
No, and having then gone back to your club after, well, it was pre-season then, wasn't it? But, you know, people saying, why, you know, you didn't win the tournament, why was you celebrating? And it was almost a thing of, you know, if you're not Welsh, it's probably pointless trying to explain it, you wouldn't understand. But from, as we are as a country, what we've been through, yeah, you wouldn't understand, but to us as a nation, it meant everything almost. Yeah, didn't expect it. Had an idea something was happening, but not on that scale. Slightly tired group of players because it was a late night. The night before, I don't think many people got much sleep, and yeah, again, almost in a little bit of a blur, and probably not fully understanding, again, like I said before, about how fans wouldn't know exactly how the players feel because they've never, but we probably wouldn't know how proud they were at the time of, you know, taking time off work and stuff like that. So yeah, we felt like it was important to say thank you to them, and they were probably thinking the same thing. So yeah, didn't expect it. It was something that it's nice to, don't often look back at videos and photos, but I think around that time, you know, is important. Again, like you said, from where we came from to then driving up and down the city, and there were so many people, there was, you know, how much it meant to everybody, and probably wouldn't happen again. Wouldn't see it in any other country, but I think that's what makes us so special and unique, the bond and how close to the, you know, the players and the fans are. You can keep talking about it, but it's all right saying, you know, you've got a good relationship or whatever. Wales always almost prove it. You don't even need to say, it's just there. That's the first thing people mention when they talk about it. So didn't expect it was a long day, like I say, after a few drinks and stuff like that. But no, you know, just so proud, and means the world looking back on stuff like that.
Finally, I suppose this is a question you'll find easy to answer after the game, but what do you think will be going through your mind at kick-off tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know. I think after will be a different answer to before. It's something that's been spoken about for so long. You know, people asking you, people at your club asking mates. We'll be glad when it's done that nobody can almost ask in a way. But it would be hard. It wouldn't, even if it was before or after, it wouldn't be able to put into words what it means. It wouldn't know how to do it justice. I just find it so lucky. That's how I feel. You know, I'm now experiencing something that, you know, no man has ever had to experience because no one's ever done it, type thing. So there's no, you know, looking back at it and thinking, how did, you know, what did they say when he did it or whatever. I think it's fantastic that, you know, a couple of the women have done it, and, you know, the more, you know, men or women can do it is fantastic for the country. But no, I said I did say before, I'm glad in a way there's no fans, because that anthem, I'm not sure, it'd be a pretty sight if there was fans singing, and, you know, knowing everyone's sort of potentially looking at you and stuff. So don't overly enjoy all the attention and spotlight. So for that side, there being no fans is probably a good thing for myself. But yeah, it'll be you know, I don't know how to describe it, but just proud beyond anything for myself and my family, and one has been a, you know, a complete honour to do it once, let alone 100 times.
That's brilliant. Well, it's been a privilege to be there at the beginning, first captain to be here for 100th, and just say thank you. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Chris.
Cheers, Ajay. Thank you.